Hey guys, Crypto Sunday, and it's a bit of a red week, down about 5.5%. Nothing sort of too drastic. It does seem to be largely Solana. Bitcoin sort of down a little, and just sort of still going through this summer malaise. People say sort of the sell in May, wait for St. Leger's Day, which I believe is mid-September. So yeah, could be sort of around the bottom now, and people sort of start buying then. I don't think the idea is sort of things go down until that day, but yeah, people certainly seem sort of bored in the summer and not particularly buying, and sort of have that while there's been an awful lot of selling. Mt. Gox probably still some Bitcoin being sold as it gets distributed out. People are wondering whether the US are selling. It doesn't There's sort of no evidence of that just yet. But yeah, there's still a lot of selling. Just having a look at some of the news then. We got the CoinShares report was ever so slightly positive compared to sort of previous weeks. 176 million inflow. Most ETFs would consider as brilliant, but that's a small week in crypto. And it is largely into Ethereum. 13 million into Bitcoin. It's been sort of very quiet the previous week. Ethereum 155 million inflow. Multi-asset 18 million, which is always good to see. Solana 4.5 million, good. Small outflow out of Binance Coin. People, I guess, taking profit on short Bitcoin, and some sort of small inflows into the others. Looking by country, quite a big inflow into Brazil. Well done, lads. And inflows across the board, really. I'm presuming this must be them all buying the Ethereum ETFs, because that is the bulk of the inflow. So, yeah, everyone, I presume, getting into those. Looking at this week's inflows, the Bitcoin side is going to be sort of near enough zero. We had sort of some small double figure inflows on 4 days, but we had one day of 81 million outflow. So yeah, net, that's sort of what, 20 million or something. Yeah, not ideal, but it's just slow summer. It's better than sort of huge outflow. Still a hell of a lot coming out of Grayscale, you got to say. Sort of, double figures, sometimes into triple figures every day. Looking at the ETH side, this week won't be as strong as last week for inflows. So we're seeing, again, a few small double digits, 5 million on Monday, and then Thursday and Friday some reasonable outflows, 40 million and 15 million. So yeah, guessing the CoinShares report will be sort of extremely low, almost flat next week. Probably should have mentioned this more yesterday, as it's kind of stock news rather than crypto news, but I thought I'd just highlight Riot Platforms continuing to buy their stake in Bitfarms, 18.9% now. So that is quite a lot. Bitfarms back over 1 billion. So that is quite a stake now. 205 million dollars. So not too bad. Some other minor news. Marathon are taking the MicroStrategy playbook, it seems, issuing 250 million of convertible bonds to buy Bitcoin. So the majority of these sort of at the market offerings and sort of private stock offerings have been to expand their mining operations. This is the first one where they're saying they're just going to buy Bitcoin. Obviously, you could just buy Bitcoin yourself if you're sort of institutions looking to take up these shares, but I guess with this you're having that 250 million go into Bitcoin, but you're also getting shares of Marathon Digital as a whole, so it's not quite the same as just buying Bitcoin, or I suppose just buying MicroStrategy, since obviously their stock offerings just go into Bitcoin, but that is essentially just a somewhat of a levered, I guess, Bitcoin ETF. I don't think of it that way because, the market cap's double what they own. So I sort of count it as a half-levered ETF, if you like. But yeah, Marathon, we now have a second large US company um, issuing stock to buy Bitcoin. And you do have this abroad as well, one or two sort of Japanese companies and one or two others around the world sort of taking this approach, issuing stock if they've got a reasonable valuation and buying Bitcoin. See what the interest rate was as well. They're saying these sort of notes will pay interest every 6 months and mature September the 1st, 2031. I don't think there's any chance of those running until September 31. I think, with MicroStrategy, convertible debt basically does mean issuing stock because, they'll pay very low interest because they are convertible. And, if Bitcoin goes where we're all sort of hoping it does, then these shares just get converted, within a year, 2 years. So the sort of September 2031 is a little silly, really. Interesting to note as well that Marathon sold 51% of the Bitcoin they mined in the second quarter to fund their operating costs. So yeah, they're not sort of taking the CleanSpark or Riot Platforms approach of sort of hodling everything basically and using at the market offerings and sort of cash on the balance sheet to fund operations, sort of selling Bitcoin to fund your operations and then issuing shares to buy that Bitcoin back potentially at different prices, whether they were selling it higher and sort of buying it back lower. I suppose that could be a reasonable strategy, and people will sort of gain Bitcoin overall. But yeah, not sure I quite like that strategy. Well, this was a really good article as well. Advisor holdings in the Bitcoin ETFs are on the up, and hedge funds are dropping slightly, according to Coinbase. You saw sort of this chart, the blue sort of small segment here on the inner pie, as they call it, was the first quarter of the year, and that's investment advisors. That's now sort of widened out to the larger blue segment here, so up from 6 to 9%. And investment advisors, you would think, are the more longer term holders, and sort of hedge funds dropping ever so slightly. And hedge funds, they're sort of thinking, are they the less sort of long-term holders? They could be some of the basis trade people, as they're noting, so sort of selling futures and buying the spot ETFs. You get paid a small amount for that. It doesn't matter whether Bitcoin goes up or down. So they could have been some of the sort of early buyers, but so them reducing and investment advisors who are very unlikely to be playing the basis trade, them increasing is good news. And pension funds, I'm not sure we're going to sort of see a great deal of them. Holding companies, I would imagine, counts people like MicroStrategy and sort of various others, and the rest sort of largely the same. But yeah, the investment advisors section, I think is great news. And sort of people have noted, now you've got Morgan Stanley finally authorised their 15,000 financial advisors. People are saying that probably won't see a huge amount in Q3 because most of that is summertime, but maybe look for the Q4 results, and well, they'll probably be getting in in Q4, and then we'll sort of see that in the early part of next year. You've got a number of people pushing for options on the ETFs as well. A lot of people are saying this reduces volatility. I would have thought that increases volatility, but that isn't necessarily, people just levering up and going, long-dated call options. This can be sort of people buying the spot ETF and selling call options to get a bit of income from it. And yeah, basically they're just saying, obviously the S&P and various indexes all have options on them, which they say dampens volatility. Obviously, if it starts meaning people are playing 0 day to expiry options and things as they do in stocks, then that probably could increase volatility. But either way, it's something Wall Street likes, and yeah, you've got options on the derivative ETFs already. So your Bitcoin futures, 2x leverage Bitcoin futures. So you can do options on a 2x Bitcoin ETF already. I imagine that is rather all over the place on sort of certain days. You've got covered call Bitcoins, you've got inverse Bitcoin futures, so options on betting it's going to go down. And yeah, they're basically saying they would want options on the spot ones, basically, because these are sort of pretty much all futures. So yeah, that's interesting. The sort of NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange withdrawing requests for rule changes. SEC sort of, it looks like, are making comments, and maybe these sort of filings will get resubmitted. Before it just seemed to have been sort of ignored and delayed and things. So you always think whenever you see these withdrawals, then that is what I think James Seifert from Bloomberg was saying. This is generally because the SEC have made comment and they're saying withdraw that and either withdraw it and resubmit sort of a little bit later maybe, or make amendments to them. And as far as next ETFs go, it looks like we've got sort of two different things. You've had VanEck and one or two others filing for Solana ETFs. But Franklin Templeton are sort of taking a somewhat devious approach, I think, with an index ETF. I think they're saying there's already one out there from Hashdex, which is, I believe, the more Asia focused one, the Hashdex Nasdaq Crypto Index ETF. Bit of a mouthful, but yeah, Franklin Templeton are looking to file for one as well. It will track the performance of the CF Institutional Digital Asset Index, which at the moment is just Bitcoin and Ethereum. So they're saying it would hold a market-weighted basket, if you can call two a basket of Bitcoin and Ethereum. But so then as soon as something like Solana ETF would be approved, then presumably that would just automatically get added to the index and then added to the ETF. That obviously would, I guess, involve selling of some Bitcoin and Ethereum and buying Solana. So depending on how big these index ETFs get, you could get a small amount of selling pressure. Not sure whether, obviously the people are saying if crypto sort of starts to grow and grow, people will want an index ETF possibly more than the individual ones, as the S&P 500. People invest a lot more in the S&P than they do the top shares in the S&P, for example. People don't sort of hold, well, obviously a lot of people hold Apple and Microsoft individually, but far more people will just hold an S&P 500 ETF. So if you start getting a sort of top 10 crypto ETF, top 20 crypto ETF, that could be sort of something people want a little bit more for diversification. And I do like this idea of just having, getting it approved while you can. Presumably, shouldn't be any trouble in approving a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF if you've already got ETFs of each one. And as new ones start getting added, you can just immediately add it to your index and start trading that as well. Or I don't know whether they'd have to file an amendment with the SEC. I guess they probably would, but should be sort of sorted quick sticks. Worth highlighting PayPal as well. I think they got into the stablecoin market with PayPal USD, and yeah, the value is starting to rise. It was sort of, very, very small, very choppy. They were sort of seeing reductions in the market cap sort of around March time, and sort of, ups and downs, but certainly the last month it has started to rocket up. You got sort of 850 million now, 843 million in market cap now, from sort of in the 300s and 400s just sort of in May, June time. So yeah, that is a fair rise. Obviously it's miles off Tether at sort of 122 billion, I think they're at now, and even USDC is sort of 40 times that. But yeah, I think PayPal getting into the space is sort of bullish, and they'll think that their name can take them a fair way. It's not going to make them a huge amount of money from just now. I'm guessing, even on an annualized basis, they're probably going to be making about 30-40 million dollars on this, and they are sort of growing at a time that interest rates are now starting to sort of, it looks like, come down. So they maybe should have got into this earlier, but yeah, it's sort of potentially still good. So looking at what is moving, every single one is red, a good old red wall, but it's just how much. Bitcoin is down 4%, just under 4%. Solana is down just over 10%, so that's the down performer for the week, but I still think looks good. I believe that may be down to a bit of an unlock in August. I hadn't checked the date of when that was, but whether it's sort of leading up to the unlock, people are selling, anticipating it, or if it has unlocked, then maybe they're selling some. I don't think the date is probably all that important, because you do get people front running a hell of a lot of news. So yeah, it's potentially that. I didn't see sort of too much other news that would push it down. Ethereum down 3.5% then. Chainlink 7% down. XRP 5.5%. I sort of possibly missed the chance to sell that. It sort of had its rocket up after the news and doesn't really seem to have had much in the way of positive news following the ruling. I kind of thought this SEC somewhat win, or sort of lower fine than people were thought, and the certainty is basically now there to say what they can do. I thought all the banks and these potential customers they said they've got lined up would be coming out of the woodwork saying, yeah, we're now going to use XRP, but yeah, hasn't happened yet. Maybe they're slow moving. Power Ledger down 8%, Audius down 6%, Polygon down 6.5%, Internet Computer down 3.7%, Quant down just under 10%, so that's nearly keeping up with Solana. Well done. Gala 4.6% down, Basic Attention Token 4.5%, and VeChain down 8%. So everything's down. It's just sort of some are worse than others. Obviously, Bitcoin holding up reasonably well, and yeah, we need to sort of get out of this summer lull and get some positivity back. But have to see where things go, see what the ETFs are doing. So yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and like and subscribe. See you soon.